5 years ago, I had a class with these two girls that I liked, and they both had a crush on me, but they ended up ruining my confidence for years. This all started on the first day of school. I remember showing up, and I had real confidence in myself. I liked the way that I looked, and I didn't really care about the clothes I was wearing. I just wanted to have a good time, as most people did at the age of 15. But when I walked into the classroom, it wasn't any normal class. It was one that had some weird looking tables. There weren't desks like, you know how everybody just has those normal desks that you sit at that have maybe a tray underneath of them or something like that? There was none of those, and instead there was round tables with a bunch of chairs. Now that actually made me somewhat nervous because it made me realize that I was gonna have to sit down and basically make friends with people because I didn't know anybody there at the time. Problem is, I made the mistake of showing up to this class late, and there was probably nothing worse because all of the people who did know each other from previous grades or anything were all sitting together. But I saw one chair in the classroom, and it was the most frightening chair that I had seen. And the reason is because it was in between two girls that I thought were extremely attractive, and I knew that I was gonna have to sit there without knowing either of them or anybody at that table. Instantly, being a guy who has never had success with girls, even being around them kind of gave me that like spike of like butterflies in my stomach, if you know what I'm talking about. So I go up and I decide, all right, whatever, I'm gonna sit here, I'm gonna man up and do it. So I set my stuff down, and instantly when I go to sit down in this chair, I make a really weird noise. My shoe had made like a squeaking noise or something, which wouldn't have been bad if it wasn't very loud, but somehow, some way, this was one of the loudest noises I could have possibly made. I genuinely still to this day don't know how I did it. Like, I'm still trying to figure that out. But then everyone in the classroom, as soon as I made that noise, started staring at me, and it went quiet until a laugh rang out. And the laugh that I heard was the girl sitting right next to me, the one that I thought was so attractive. And that instantly made my face extremely red. I got extremely nervous, and I just started sweating. I didn't even know how to act at the time, like if I should try to come off as a popular kid or try to come off being myself. I seriously didn't know, but if anything made it worse, it was the fact that right across the room, there was this group of kids who were, I guess, quote unquote, in the popular group, and they all knew each other, and they were all like sort of whispering, looking at me and talking. Now, this gave me a really tense feeling in my stomach of like feeling like I was literally going to get sick just because I knew that these people were talking about me, because they obviously were looking at me. I was the one who just made this loud noise. Not thinking much of it, I tried starting a conversation at this new table because I didn't know what else to do. Like, I had to do something to take away the focus on me in the classroom. So I go to speak to one of the kids that's sitting across from me at the table, and I made the grave mistake of speaking over the teacher. And the teacher did one of those things that most teachers have done. I don't know if you guys have experienced this before, but she looks at me and makes a scene out of it. And it's like, it's the first day. Like, what are we doing? Now, she wasn't really that mean, but she made a scene out of like me disrupting the class and was like, if we do this all year, it's going to be a big problem, whatever. But she was saying it jokingly. But either way, this once again took all the attention onto me. Now, at this point, I'm becoming a genuine shell of myself. I feel like I can't even be myself whatsoever because I've already made like 3 different mistakes. There's no way I can continue doing this. Now, I'm already feeling awful about myself. I'm kind of just stuck. I'm frozen, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to shut up, not say anything, and kind of just let this class go on. I, at that point, decided that that classroom was no longer for me. In the first day, that classroom is going to be one that I'm going to hate for the rest of the year. And to be honest, that's kind of what happened, especially after the whole girl situation that I'll go over in a second. So now I'm sitting there completely in my head. Anything that the teacher was going to say is pretty much going over my head. I'm not even listening. Everything is tuned out until something even worse happens, and I genuinely don't know how it keeps getting worse, but it does. One thing about me is I never really knew how to dress that well until I got like a good amount older. So I was one of these like soccer kids who would wear those like striped Adidas legging pants. If you guys know what I'm talking about, like, let me know. And then I had this goofy looking tight shirt that had a hood. Like, don't even ask me why I was wearing that. I know I have a picture of it somewhere, but it just looked goofy, okay? It wasn't that bad, but the worst part was my shoes. My shoes, if you guys ever seen Yeezys, it's like these like designer like shoes. They're the Kanye West ones. And I had shoes that looked very similar, but were not Yeezys. They were from Adidas, the same brand, but they were not Yeezys. And instantly, when I stand up to start walking around the class because we had been assigned to do some group thing, some kid, one of the popular kids, walks up to me, points out my shoes, and says, "Yo, Dylan has fake Yeezys." When I tell you, my face, my body shut down. I felt like crying. And look, I know I'm like a somewhat of a grown man. Like, I guess I was a teenager at the time. I did not care in that moment. I just wanted to cry. I wanted to leave. I felt like a little girl in that moment, to be completely real with you. And I just got up. I asked the teacher, can I go to the bathroom? I walked to the bathroom. I'm standing there looking in the mirror, and there's just nothing. I have a blank, pale face. I'm sweating. My face is like red. I feel like I'm about to cry. Like, all of this is happening, and I just don't know what to do. I'm like silent in the bathroom. So I just stand there and I wait. I didn't even like have my phone on me or anything. It was in my backpack. So I'm literally standing there in the bathroom, walking around waiting. So now, just from this last hour of class, I have gone from a confident person to now somebody who has zero confidence, who has nothing going for him, and somebody who's actually insecure. And I'm so in my head at this point that this had actually ruined me for years ahead of time. So in my head, I'm trying to hype myself up just to make it through the rest, like 30 minutes of this class, and that's all I'm doing in the bathroom. So eventually I come back, I sit down, and it's like all the noise around me became blurry, and that probably makes no sense, but you know, like when you cover your ears and uncover them, if you're like in a cafeteria, it was like my mind was like doing that. Like all the talking of the class, the loudness was just drowned out, and I'm just sitting there in my head silent. But that's when my saving grace came. In these group settings, I didn't know because I had gone to the bathroom, but the people that I got paired with was these two girls who were sitting next to me. And I still to this day think that they like saved my career in this classroom. So I sit down to talk to them, ask them like what the assignment is that we're doing, everything like that. And instantly, these are the first people in the entire like classroom, the entire building that I had seen who actually gave me some like decent positive energy. Like every single other person, like they wouldn't even smile. They were like making jokes. Everyone was immature. Like, you know how it is. But I'm talking to these girls, and they were the first ones who were actually kind of nice. And to me, this was a complete breath of fresh air. It took all the anxiety and like tenseness that I was feeling inside of me, and it actually started to go away, but only when I was talking to them. So we continued talking back and forth nonstop. And obviously, as a teenage guy, I did what most teenage guys would do. I saw two attractive girls in front of me who were actually nice, and I started to develop a crush on them like pretty instantly. But you know, like when you're really young, you haven't really even spoken to that many people in your lifetime. So it's like I would say it's pretty much a guarantee that this was going to happen some way or another. It could have been two other girls, like that didn't even matter. But the fact that they were there, that was just kind of like by chance. But either way, this had made me feel good. And instantly my mind had switched from, oh, this is the class that I want to avoid. I want to be quiet. I just don't want to talk to anyone, to this is a class that I actually look forward to. So we talk, and these last 30 minutes went by so unbelievably fast, whereas the first part of the class went by slow. So the class starts ending. I end up going to the rest of the classes that I had for the day. Each one was 90 minutes, by the way, which was absolutely grueling. Like having to sit there bored for 90 minutes straight was just awful, but that's what I did. But throughout the entire rest of the day, I couldn't think of anything else other than these two girls that I had talked to. Now, I didn't know which one in my head I liked more. I was kind of like in between, but either way, I didn't care. But I was not prepared for what was going to hit me when I got home. All of the insecurities that these people had pointed out, the popular kids, the kids around me, the fake Yeezys, all this, I remember looking in the mirror and just feeling awful about myself. Like, I started even noticing things about myself that nobody even said. Like, I had really flat, straight hair, and I wanted to even fix that. So I remember watching a ton of looks maxing videos and all that, trying to fix the way I looked. I started using sea salt spray, which ended up leading to me even making my own brand and all this crazy stuff. Now, as the year went on, this is where everything got bad. So I'm gonna have to skip ahead a few months into the future of going to this class. Over the first 3 months of having this class, I developed extremely strong feelings for both of these two girls, and I could tell that they both liked me back because people would talk about it all the time. They would talk about which one should I pick, and I would make jokes about like, oh, I'm gonna pick one of them, whatever. And I was always quiet about it because I would never want them to know that I liked them. I was like very self-conscious about that. Like if a girl knew that I had a crush on her or anything like that, it would have just been horrible for my own mindset. So I was like, I don't want them to know anything. Until one day we show up to class, and this is where everything changed. This one popular kid would not leave me alone. I don't know what his problem was, but anytime he had the chance, he would make one smart remark, and he was not like some bully or anything, or I guess he kind of was. He would always make one smart remark about me that just like hurt, just like a little bit, like the fake Yeezys and all this stuff. Like he would always try to do that. And in front of these girls, he started doing it nonstop, and especially in this one classroom. And this is where everything got ruined. This guy making subtle jokes about me the entire year had kind of ruined my reputation in this classroom. I guess people saw me as a weird kid or something like that, and that was one of the worst feelings. But this guy, in front of the entire class, as I'm sitting next to these two girls, and by the way, these two girls, I can tell both of them like me. Like, I'm very certain that they like me at this point. And he goes up, stands up in front of the class, or I guess he was sitting down, but it felt like he stood up because everyone was looking at him, and he said something that ruined my chances with either of these girls. He screamed out that both of these girls like me. He said both of their names and said they like Dillon and they were kissing and all that. This was not true. This was extremely immature. But I'm sitting there in my head and I instantly go pale, dark, I start sweating, and I'm in a panic attack. The room goes completely silent. I'm sitting there, and then both of the girls at the same time say ew. These girls saying the word ew ruined everything. Any chance that I had, any confidence that I had, it was done. And that went on to affect me for years of my life. And I realized that in order to be confident, I need to get that and find that within myself, not seek it from other people. Because even though these girls liked me, because they saw me as a weird kid, they had to act in front of the class like they didn't. So if you're insecure, just know that most insecurities are not even your own. It's other people casting them onto you. If you want more stories like this, watch this video right here.